We got the transmission temp up to 226. Check this out. Oh. All right, is this thing on? Yeah, it's on. Okay, yeah, see the truck back there? All right, so here, I got something cool for you guys today. This is actually a pretty cool thing. It's in a secret package right here. Now, if you guys are an OG follower of the channel, are you? You might have known that I like commercially hauled in the gas field for the past like 75,000 miles on that truck. I'm in Western Pennsylvania. We have the Marcellus Shale region here in the oil field and the gas field. It's just kind of crazy. So I used my truck right here, this 2017 F250 PowerStroke, as a hotshot truck. Yes, I know it's a Platinum. What are you doing working with a truck? At the end of the day, it's a truck, needs to be worked. But now the truck is starting its second phase of life, where it is no longer a work truck and is now becoming more of a show truck, a cleaner truck, something like that. But we're still gonna use it. So I don't really know what it is, but it's on its second stage of life. So anyways, if you guys run these trucks like severe use, I'm talking like towing like 30,000 pounds, running it with big, ugly, wide wheels like that, and you know, kind of just driving like you're a pissed off teenager, then you will probably be seeing slightly higher fluid temperatures, such as oil, coolant, and transmission fluid. And that all has to do with the factory thermostat opening in between 194 and 201. Now that's a pretty high range of temperature for that thermostat to be opening. So mad scientist Dan was down in the lab and whipped up something to solve that problem. And what we're doing today is we're testing it to see if it actually makes a difference. Oh, I figured you guys probably want to see it, huh? Oh, it's a box inside another box. Oh, look, there's a mint. Thank you. All right, so here it is, guys. SPE 6.7 PowerStroke low temp, high flow thermostat. I don't know if I told you guys it was a thermostat yet. I just told you it was a solution. It's a thermostat. It's a low temp, high flow thermostat. More paper. Here it is. Another bag. This thing is packaged. Oh. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's a pretty fine looking thermostat.
Mother of God.
And look, it comes with nice pictured directions. Now there's only 4 steps to this, so hopefully it's pretty easy. Now any DIYers out there, do-it-yourselfers, I can definitely say that good directions help tremendously on installing really anything you get. Alright guys, so we'll talk about the actual specs here of the thermostat, like temperature-wise, in a second. But what we're going to do is we're not going to do like hypothetical hearsay numbers. We're going to get the trailer. We're going to pull it with the truck. Before and after. Got the easy link, so we'll data log all of our temperatures. The trailer's empty right now. I guess we could have took the boat, but the boat's not as heavy as the trailer with probably a car in it, so we got to put a car in there. All right guys, we got the trailer hooked up. Here's what we're looking at on temp wise. Okay, now this is from me driving the truck to the garage. Now this is just average driving, just cruising around. The engine oil temp has already cooled down just a little bit. So we have engine coolant temp 2, which is the secondary system. So you got your primary system, secondary system, engine oil temp down here, and then transmission temp here. I have throttle position set up there, exhaust manifold pressure, and then boost pressure, GPS. So ignore the ones on the side. We're only looking at the 4 right in the middle. Now technically, according to the factory thermostat, that sucker isn't even open right now at a coolant temp of 179. It doesn't open until in between which will then increase your engine oil temp, and your transmission temp. So what we're after here is some solid data running the factory thermostat while hauling. Alright, so we made it over to the garage, and that's what you can see, kind of what we are left with under, you know, empty trailer. That is just like an 8.5 by 20 box trailer on the truck. I tried to like get in it a little more and like make it a severe situation, but I really couldn't get the transmission temp above like 209, 210. Coolant temp stayed around 195 to 200-ish. Same with the engine oil temp, right around like 204 to 205, 206, somewhere in that ballpark. So there's the empty towing numbers, and I'm sure those will be very similar to just empty driving, as if you're driving the truck, you know, on a little more of an aggressive manner. But we made it to the garage. Merle's over there behind the tree. Probably, I don't know. All right, one question. Should we put the Supra or Merle in the trailer? What's heavier, 5-cylinder turbo diesel 1984 or 2020 Supra? No glow plugs, just going straight for it. Ah! Should have glow plugged it. All right, final time, and then I'm giving up. Done. All right, so I made it back to my place really quick. We are grabbing Rusty Red. We're gonna try to put Rusty Red in the trailer. I never put him in the trailer before. So let's see if it fits while it's on here. I think we already broke it. All right, guys, she is in. Probably a smidge overweight on the trailer here, but we're gonna make it work. All right, guys, so I've been driving for approximately like 15 minutes with Rusty Red in the trailer, towing behind, and I'm going back roads. And this is Western Pennsylvania back roads, so we're up, down, around. You can't really tell, but this is a pretty steep grade. Actually, not really steep at all. We're at like 3% grade right now. It's not that bad, but it seems steeper than it is, put it that way. So I haven't seen the temperature get above 219. 219 was the highest I've seen it for the transmission. Now I'm going to make a right here, and this is a nice long uphill, which should give us some good data. I can definitely feel that the trailer's back there. Definitely it's bouncing around. Definitely probably a smidge overweight with the truck in there, but we're after the data. So there's second. We got some road construction going on or something out there. You can see my throttle position. About 50% throttle. Cruising up this hill. So we made it to the top. So you can see that we crept up to about 221 engine oil temp and transmission temp. Coolant temp did rise 212, primary or secondary system 122. So we definitely have a temp spike coming up that hill. So that was pretty, you know, we were moving pretty good. All right, guys, we're not even halfway back yet, and I'm just casually driving, and we got the transmission temp up to 226. As soon as it went into 225, it went into red. So I guess that means we're getting into red zone on the temperature for the transmission. So right now we're holding about 225-ish on the transmission. So this is actually great data. We're really going to be able to see if the SPE thermostat is going to bring that temp down into cool zone, in the safe operating range. But yeah, there we go. 225 on the transmission temp, and we are at 221 on the engine oil temp. Still hovering around 206 on engine coolant temp for the primary, and secondary we are at 100. I will keep you guys updated. All right, guys, we just pulled back in at the garage. Trailer is still on. We hit one red light and it dropped us from like 222. We were holding on the transmission temp. It dropped us down to like 216, bumped it back up to like 218, and it's been like steadily decreasing since I've just been parking. I literally just put the truck in park. So engine oil temp is 210, transmission temp 217, but we were holding it like 222. Secondary coolant is at 111 and primary is at 20. It was at like 205. So that driving right there was pretty aggressive. So we seen a spike up to like 226 transmission temp. So we've been driving in total for about 45 minutes. Yeah, the max we seen was at 226. Average was at 222 for the transmission temp. There you go. That's a pretty hard data test. I drove this truck commercially through the hills of West Virginia, up and down mountains, and there's definitely on long uphills, I wouldn't doubt you seeing 240 transmission temp. And for like the weight towing, the trailer's roughly like 3,200 pounds empty, and then the truck, the single cab Chevy 1500, I'd say that's probably like what, like 5,100. I just did a quick Google search. There's kind of numbers all around there. I took the average. So we're roughly like 8,300 pounds towing, which I would say is pretty average for the normal guy. Obviously, if you have a big camper, if you're running commercial, you're gonna be running a lot heavier than 8,300 pounds. Check Rusty Red, make sure he's still alive in here. We're good. Didn't even budge. All right, I'm gonna let the truck cool down a little bit. I am going to drop the trailer. We're gonna pull this sucker in there, and we're gonna swap in that thermostat. And what I'm gonna do when we get that swapped, I'm gonna run the exact same route, about a 45-minute back road trip. There's some good hills, there's some good downhills, there's some good uphills. A lot of shiftings going on. We got tight turns. So we're gonna do that same exact route when we get the thermostat swapped in, and we're gonna see how much the transmission temp drops. So basically, you just don't want it to get above 225, obviously, because that's when it starts to get into the red zone. So as long as we keep the transmission temp under 225, keep the oil temp a little lower, 222 is a little high, drop that down a little bit. If it can do that, man, we're in good shape. But all right, I'll see you in there, in the garage, that garage right there. All right, so the truck's in the shop. It was like smoking hot. Let it cool down a little bit. I just kind of got started. Draining the coolant is really self-explanatory. There's just a little drain valve thing on the bottom corner of the rad. Pretty self-explanatory. So I drained the coolant. I probably actually drained too much, because correct me if I'm wrong, you just have to get it lower than what you're working on. So I probably drained like, I don't know, a little over 3-4 gallons out of there. And then I pulled this tube off here. This is your upper coolant line here. This is what you got to pull off. Now this is very self-explanatory. You just pull this safety pin back, and it'll sit in its rear position. And then this pops right off. It's a quick connect. So now you have your flange on there, this black piece right here. Now I think it's just 3 bolts. That top will come off, and you will have access to the factory thermostat. So you see the dual thermostat in there. So that's the factory one. And then we have our aftermarket one right here. And then there's a vent hole. So the vent hole has to be facing towards the valley of the engine. But I'll confirm that when I pull out that factory one. But anyways, real quick. So I have the battery terminals disconnected. I have everything disconnected on this side because I'm doing a little weight reduction here. So that exhaust flange, that crossover tube flange down in the bottom. Now with 6.7 PowerStrokes, this is the like Achilles heel when you're doing this kind of a weight reduction job. Those bolts down in that flange, the one on the bottom you can see down there, the bolts, they heat up and they expand and they get cool and they heat and they expand, and just over and over and over and over again. That comes directly off of the exhaust manifold. So over time they get brittle, and whenever you go to pull this crossover pipe here, these bolts snap off inside the exhaust manifold. If anyone has ever done this kind of weight reduction, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For me, I'm going to knock on some wood here because I have never had one of these break on me, and I've done a ton of these. Now, this is just my weird voodoo way of doing it. I put the socket on. I don't even know where the socket is. I use an extension with the pivot end bottom. So I put this on. I set this on top of the bolt, and then I tap the upper end of the extension with the hammer or with the ratchet itself. Just lightly. Just tap it, tap it, tap it. And then I go with the ratchet by hand, really slow. backing it off. I do that on this one. I go a little bit, get it free, and then I go to the next one. Do the same thing. Put it onto the bolt, tap this upper end of the extension with the ratchet, go by hand, really slow, and I work it a little by little each way, and I've never had one of these break. Now, I don't know if that's completely irrelevant to the situation. That's how I do it. Never had one break. But check this out. So this is your intake part here. So this is the exhaust gases after, whoa, almost fell. This is the part where the exhaust gases come out of the EGR cooler. They get cooled in here. They cross over here. They go into your intake manifold, thus into the engine as fresh air. So this is the intake port. Look at that. This is going into the fresh air part of the engine. You're telling me that the engine is going to perform well when this is what it's working with for clean air being sucked in? That doesn't make too much sense. All right, so check this out. I just hooked up the trailer. We're still at the shop. Trailer is live. We are on. So here's our starting temperatures. It's still a little warm from whenever I did the whole cycle with, you know, heating it up, getting the coolant like purged through. So we're starting at engine coolant temp 156, engine oil temp 152, transmission at 147, and secondary coolant system 82. I swapped this one to engine RPM so you can see where the RPM is. We have boost pressure over here and throttle position up there. According to the SPE website, this should open at 175, in between 175 and 180. Oil's a little thicker than coolant, obviously, so the oil temperature will be slightly higher because oil does have to be at a certain temperature before it will really do what it's supposed to do. So let's go. All right, guys, we've been going for almost 10 minutes. We left at 6:35. It is now 6:44. So 9-minute ride on the back roads. We're about to hit 200 on trans temp. We have engine coolant temp at 179, engine oil temp 192, which is good. That's solid temp there. Secondary coolant system 86, and then we have our transmission at 198-ish. It was about to hit 200. Now that I'm kind of cruising on no hills, it dropped back down to like 197. All right, let's get a time check. 7 o'clock, so what's that, 15 minutes? So 15 minutes in, we're still cruising a cool 183 on coolant temp, 192 engine oil temp, 197 still on the transmission. So it seems like that's like the middle of the road for just average cruising. But on the way to that road where we hit 226 last time with the stock one, we have to go up 2 hills. Now they're gradual hills, but they're long. So we are on the climb of the first hill now. So we'll get a good look at what our temps will go to. Now I have it in tow haul just like last time. Cruising up the hill at like a 4% grade. Okay, so we just hit 200. Try to keep this as fast paced as I can for you guys, because I'm sure this is probably boring watching some temperatures, but this is testing. This is what you got to do. right, so we're almost to the top. We're at a solid 202. We'll let off the gas. All right, we've reached the top. All right, made it to the second hill, 705. Didn't take that long to get here. We're starting at the bottom of this hill at 205. Now this hill is slightly longer than the last hill, so we should see some increase coming up here. We're still rolling at about a 4% grade, if the thing on the truck's correct. Still on tow haul. 206 transmission temp, 192 engine coolant, 201 engine oil. So right off the bat, the transmission temp is doing great. You can see engine RPM on the gauge, throttle position, and boost pressure. So you kind of see how much power we're kind of putting into it. Now the main thing I'm watching here is transmission temp. Because that's really what spiked on the last run here. All right, so we reached the top of the hill and we hit 210 right at the top. So now we're starting down the other side of the hill and we're gonna be on the road where we hit 226 last time. So yeah, look, already dropping. As soon as you let off the gas, it immediately starts dropping. So the cooling factor of the PowerStrokes works very, very well. I think it was just the main problem was the factory thermostat would open at too late in the game when it was too hot. So I don't know. Now we're going down a 4% grade. We have tow haul on, so it's going to do the downshifting. The transmission will be holding us back, so that should keep some heat in it. Still holding at about a 209. There's a nice downshift. So yeah, I just think that the factory one just opened up too late in the game. So by the time it was trying to cool off the transmission and everything, you know, you were already running at a over 200-degree truck. All right, guys. So this is right where we hit 226 last. Time check. 709s. We just made it here. We're holding about 216, 217. So let's see what we can get here. All right, so right here we were at like 226 and we are at 217. So that's like a 9 to 10 degree drop in the transmission temperature, and we're already dropping. It's already wanting to go back down to 216. Very impressed. This thermostat will 100% keep you out of the red zone while towing. So if you want to save your oil, save your transmission fluid, this is definitely a must. But all right, so we're gonna keep driving back to the shop and we're gonna see what we end up with there. But going back there, it's just standard roads where there's no more hills. All right, time check, 7:25. We are pulling back in at the garage. That was exactly like 50 minutes. I was close, I estimated 45. All right, so here's our ending temperatures as we are pulling in. We are pulling in right now, 7:26. Ending temperatures are 185 engine coolant temp, 194 engine oil temp, 91 secondary system for the coolant, transmission at 200. Crank it, crank it. All right, how does it look? How does it look? We looking good? All right, the truck's absolutely hammered with dirt. 14 Ys, run them, they said. All right, but anyway, so here's my final overview on the SPE thermostat. I 100% approve this product. I'm not paid by SPE. I'm not an employee. I'm not biased. Unbiased review. This is a must for your 6.7 PowerStroke. Set it here. Mark it down in your calendar. I don't know why you'd mark it in your calendar. So I just watched the footage back on the camera. I got a screen right there on the camera, so that's why I'm looking over there. So normally with the factory one and the SPE one, you're gonna run in between 16 and 20 degrees lower, like at all times. So I'll put the two here. You know, this will be the factory one, this will be the SPE one. So here's the two screenshots of the end result after the 50-minute loop I did, running up and down those hills, leaving in a tow haul, running all around. Here's the end result getting back to the shop. There's about 20-degree drop on just overall coolant temp and about in between 16 to 17 drop on engine oil and transmission temperature. So this could be the difference between your truck like overheating and wearing out your oil and wearing out other things and it not. So if you drive your truck like a jacked off 16-year-old, or if you haul or tow or do anything of the sort, this is like legitimately 100%. You got to do it. So this has me thinking. I commercially ran in the oil field as a hotshot truck with that truck, regularly towing 14,000-ish pounds, and I was going up and down some mad hills. I definitely burnt the transmission fluid in there. If I was, after the results of this video, 100% I smoked that transmission fluid back, you know, in between 0 and 75,000 miles. So I should probably service the transmission. But yeah, guys, we could sit here and talk about all the technical data of oil and temperatures and this and that. But long story short, this gets you to temperature, gets you to proper temperature, quick, fast. It gets you there and it keeps you there. It keeps you running cool on your transmission and on your engine temps. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer. That was probably like one of the biggest flaws with the 6.7 is that the thermostat opens late or opens high. So then by the time it's trying to cool the engine oil and the transmission, it's already starting with an over 200-degree situation. So then it can't bring it down where it needs to be. So I like to try to remain unbiased with trucks, you know, like with diesels, because I literally like them all. But these trucks, man, anyone who has one, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, and why wouldn't you run a transmission cooler, you say? Like, why wouldn't you just put that on there and run a cooler transmission with that? Well, 3 things. That's a lot more expensive. It's a lot harder to install. And then in the wintertime, when that transmission cooler is exposed to the freezing degree weather, your transmission might not get up to temperature where it needs to be. Oil has to be at a certain temp to do its job. That answers that. Oh yeah, guys, I almost forgot to tell you. If you guys want one of these for your truck, hit the first link in the description. Use discount code at checkout, Corey10. You'll save like 10 bucks off the thing. It's 64. It's already cheap. 54 bucks. Are you nuts? Can you hear that? There's unidentified pitter-patter on the ceiling or on the roof.